If you would like to help out this channel a little more, please consider making a monthly pledge on my Patreon. For $2 a month, you get early access to new videos the day before its official release, and if you pledge $5 a month, then you get access to an exclusive Patreon channel on my official Discord. King Sombra was an evil dark magic wielding unicorn whom Princess Celestia described as having a heart as black as night. However, there is more to his story than the actual show tells us.
My little pony, my little pony friends.
The being who would eventually be known as Sombra was originally one of many shadow ponies called Umbrum that were banished underground by Princess Amore and the Crystal Heart when they attacked the Crystal Empire. A few years after Sombra's birth, his Umbrum brethren used their magic to transfigure him into a unicorn colt, which allowed him to escape the Umbrum prison. Upon awakening in the frozen north, he has no memories of his days as an Umbrum and is soon picked up by the Crystal Empire royal guards, where they escort him to the orphanage. As he only knew one word, which was Sombra, that was what he was named. Sombra was academically behind other ponies his age, and he described speaking Ponish as like chewing peanut brittle, and that he felt that he wasn't meant to speak it. However, Sombra was a fast learner, and whenever he had trouble understanding any homework he was assigned, the orphanage matron named Mrs. Chestnut was there to help him. During his time in the orphanage, the other foals rejected and ostracized him as they viewed him as strange. He eventually meets fellow social outcast called Radiant Hope, where they become fast friends. They played many fantasy games and made up secret languages and codes, not caring that other ponies their age saw them as weird. They both became excited about the Crystal Fair and saved up their jewels in order to buy things there, with Sombra in particular becoming fascinated with the Crystal Heart. When Sombra and Hope both stared at the Crystal Heart, they each received a vision of their possible futures. Hope saw herself as a princess of Equestria, and Sombra saw himself as an evil dark being. He accidentally ran into Princess Amore, who tells him that while what he saw could happen, he still has the power to change his fate. Despite her pep talk, Sombra ends up feeling guilt and fear. When the day of the Crystal Fair arrived, Sombra is initially excited but unexpectedly becomes paralyzed, and the doctors could not figure out why. The paralysis would continue throughout the day, making Sombra weaker. Fortunately, Hope was willing to sacrifice her day to stay by her best friend. Every year from then, the episodes of paralysis would keep happening during a Crystal Fair. This continued until one year his body began to turn into shadow. Hope put a stop to this by using her healing magic to repair his body, which earns her her cutie mark, much to the surprise of Hope and to the happiness of Sombra. Hope uses her talent to heal sick and injured ponies, and eventually she receives a letter from Princess Celestia and Luna inviting her to learn magic in Canterlot. This excites Hope, and she tells Sombra this information, which makes him believe that his fate was truly etched in stone, which leads him to run away from the Empire into the frozen north. He is spoken to by a red crystal claiming to be his mother and grants him access to his dark magical powers, and is tasked with taking the Crystal Heart. While committing this thievery, he is accosted by Princess Amore, who states that it's not too late for him to change his fate for the better. Sombra figures out that Amore had always known that he was an Umbrum in disguise, and becomes angry and transforms her into stone due to the annual pain he had to suffer. Radiant Hope stumbles upon her fallen friend and is horrified by what he had done. Sombra insists that they can now rule the Empire together and no longer have to suffer the pain of bullying, and shatters the statue of Princess Amore and scatters the pieces all over the world due to not wanting to kill her, and believes that even if someone were to bring her back, he would be too powerful for the Unicorn Princess. Seeing that her friend was too far gone, Radiant Hope goes to Celestia and Luna to help with dealing with Sombra, while he takes over the Crystal Empire and becomes King Sombra. He enslaves the Crystal Ponies, and they are forced to dig down to the Umbrum prison in order to free them. The two princesses combine their magic to turn him into a weak shadow and banish him inside ice and snow. Before he was banished, King Sombra cast a curse which caused the Crystal Empire and its inhabitants to disappear, except for Radiant Hope, who is not in the Empire. Hope returns to Canterlot to begin her studies, but soon begins to feel guilty for causing Sombra to be banished, and she decides to abandon her studies and find her friend. She eventually comes across the red crystal in the frozen north, where she finds out that the crystal is a portal to the Umbrum prison that only non-Umbrum creatures can enter and leave. When she sees the Umbrum, she believes that they were the imaginary friends she had as a little filly, not knowing that they had a more horrifying true form. She forms a friendship with Rabia the Umbrum, who tells her the truth about Sombra, and her time in the prison allows her to live for 1,000 years. After a millennia had passed, the Crystal Empire returns, and Celestia rightly assumes that the Empire's return also meant the return of King Sombra. Princess Cadance and her newlywed husband Shining Armor are sent to defend the Empire, and Twilight and her friends are shortly sent to help them. The Shadow of Sombra tried to attack Shining in the main 6, and while Sombra managed to render Shining's horn useless, he is unable to pursue them further due to the protective shield cast by Cadance. After one close call when the shield nearly dissipated, the shield eventually fell, allowing Sombra to re-enter the Empire and begins to assimilate it. It is only with Twilight managing to find the Crystal Heart that Sombra had hidden away, and the combined efforts of Spike and Cadance, they manage to return the Crystal Heart to its pedestal, and the love and hope of the Crystal Ponies power up the heart and destroys Sombra. However, this was not the end of Sombra's story. Shortly after the events of the Season 3 opening, his horn that had survived being disintegrated had somehow made its way back to Sombra's secret dungeon. The horn, which served as a Horcrux of sorts, allowed Sombra to slowly gain a non-corporeal form over the period of 1.5 years, as Sombra would eventually explain to Radiant Hope. Speaking of her, after 1,000 years, she is tasked by Rabia to revive Sombra and steal the Crystal Heart, under the impression that the Umbrum were good, misunderstood creatures. Hope gathers a group of past villains which included Queen Chrysalis and the Changelings, which at the time were unreformed but certainly did not include Thorax, Down on Her Luck Lightning Dust, the Toon con artist Flim and Flam, and the Minotaur Iron Will, who was slowly becoming unpopular. While the villain team worked together to steal the heart, Hope, who presumably learned dark magic from the Umbrum, went down to the secret dungeon, and after urging her friend to show himself, the non-corporeal form of Sombra appeared, angry at what he believed was betrayal by his only friend Radiant Hope. The Crystal Unicorn used her healing magic to speed up Sombra's process, allowing him to regain physical form for the second time. Within a few minutes, the newly revived Sombra charges out of the Crystal Castle to enact his revenge on the ponies that defeated him. While this occurred, Twilight engages Chrysalis in a magic duel, and the main 5 in Shining Armor work together to imprison the villains. To the shock of everyone, King Sombra flew into the fray, knocking Shining unconscious and freed the villains, and helps to overwhelm the heroes. Celestia, who had responded to Cadence's call for help, confronts and duels King Sombra while Luna dueled Chrysalis. Iron Will, Lightning Dust, and the Flim Flam brothers manage to trick the main 5 and imprisons them. The Dark Unicorn overwhelms Celestia and turns her and Luna into stone statues and imprisons Twilight in Shining Armor, much to the glee of Chrysalis. The Changeling Queen confronts Sombra when she hears his plan of freeing the Umbrum and tells him how her and the Changelings were unable to feed off the love of the Crystal Ponies due to the Umbrum causing misery and despair, and that releasing them will still be bad for the Changelings, and that she was told that the revival of Sombra would allow her and the Changelings to feed off the love of the Equestrians. Hope attempts to defuse the argument and attempts to assure the Queen that the Umbrum are good creatures, only for Chrysalis to call her out for easily believing their lies. After Sombra threatens to turn the Queen into another stone statue, she pretends to agree to follow along with the plan while she plans to leave Equestria with the Changelings. The other villains express their fear of the worst and look to the Queen for advice and offer to help her stop Sombra and Hope, but they are berated by her. Chrysalis and the Changelings quickly leave, but not before freeing Twilight after she calls her out for being a coward. The other villains take their leave as well. Cadance confronts Hope and tries to tell her that Sombra is nothing more than a monster and that the Umbrum are also monsters. The princess asks to visit the Umbrum and Hope happily obliges, hoping that Cadance will see that the Umbrum are good. While they visit the prison, Cadance lights up her horn despite being told not to, revealing the true, terrifying forms of the Umbrum, and they barely manage to escape before they are killed. Hope tells Sombra that he should not free the Umbrum, but he reveals that he never freed them in the first place due to believing that they were the good creatures and that he was the monster. Through the magic of friendship, Twilight's horn is decrystallized, and the main 5 in Shining Armor end up being freed from their cage, and they confront Sombra. Twilight tries to cast a powerful spell on Sombra, but ends up hitting Radiant Hope when she tries to block her spell from hitting her friend, knocking her out in the process. Angry at his friend being injured, Sombra decides to release the Umbrum.
You want to fight monsters, little pony? I'll give you monsters.
Shining, Cadence, and Twilight are captured by the Umbrum while the main five and Spike manage to escape and destroy the train tracks so that they wouldn't be able to follow. Sombra and the Umbrum stage a kangaroo court and put Twilight, Sparkle, and Cadence on a mock trial. Rabia threatens to turn Shining Armor into a stone statue unless they give Sombra information on where the main five are. Shining tells his wife and sister not to tell the Umbrum anything and allows himself to be turned to stone. Twilight tricks the Umbrum into bringing her and Cadence outside to publicly turn them to stone, knowing that the main five would have shown up with reinforcements. Sombra tries to get Hope to witness the execution, but the miserable crystal unicorn calls him out for believing that being evil was his only destiny, pointing out that she was destined to be a princess, but that never came to fruition. While she was angry, she joins him in witnessing the execution. The rebels return to the Empire with Pinkie Pie showing up with Maud Pie and Mr. and Mrs. Cake armed with party cannons, Rarity with her parents, an unknown stallion, and the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and Applejack with Big Macintosh and Granny Smith. The militia engage the Umbrum in a battle. Fluttershy convinces Discord, who is taking a bath, to enlarge her animals so that they can provide reinforcements, and while the militia initially gain the upper hand, the Umbrum quickly manage to overwhelm them. Sombra stares at his reflection in the crystal heart, and this time only sees himself. Rabia believes that it's simply due to the heart not being in the pedestal and urges him to destroy it. Sombra thanks Hope for calling him out and chucks the heart back on the pedestal, which allows its power to force the Umbrum back to their prison and frees Twilight, Cadence, Celestia, and Luna. Despite his actions, the heart slowly disintegrates Sombra due to him being an Umbrum. He tearfully expresses his happiness at finally being able to witness the Crystal Fair and says goodbye to Hope. Not willing to lose her friend, Hope uses her magic to try and pull him back, but the heart's power makes this extremely difficult. However, Hope's efforts are joined by Celestia, Luna, Cadence, and Twilight willing to give Sombra another chance. Through their combined powers, the Umbrum essence is removed from Sombra and he becomes a true unicorn pony, much to the tearful happiness of Hope. Sombra apologizes to the princesses for his past actions and is forgiven. The redeemed Sombra and his friend Radiant Hope embark on a journey to recover and reassemble the stone pieces of Princess Amore with the hope that she can still be revived. And that is the complete story of King Sombra. You may have noticed that I left out the Reflections version of Sombra, but that is due to him being from another universe, and he most likely had a different backstory than Prime Sombra. If you have any suggestions on which character I should cover on the next episode of The Life of, please comment down below or tweet me at TheZorottleThing1138. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and press the subscribe button, and make sure to click the notification bell. Brohoof, and see you later.